All right, welcome to another episode of the Ask Swenk Show. This is episode 39. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about what do you do to get your first client as a creative agency? How do you go from that initial phone call or email inquiry to a proposal? And then after you land the project, what do you do when that client goes silent for 6 months and then just pops up and wants you to drop everything and actually help them out?
I'm Jason Swenk, and I'm answering your questions. And this is Ask Swenk.
And Thuba asked, and hopefully I pronounced that right, he said, how would you go about landing your first client as a new creative agency? I've seen a lot of your resources on how to pitch a client who has approached you, but how do you go about those who you've identified as a potential client? Well, I love that you asked this question just because a lot of us just rely on one channel. And I truly believe you need a multi-channel approach in order scaling and growing your agency. And you've already nailed it down that most people miss out in the very beginning anyway. You've identified your potential clients. You know who you want to go after. So many people miss this. And they just say, well, do I just pick up the phone book and just start calling? Absolutely not. You need to know who you're going after because you need to understand what are they struggling with? What do they want? And so you start making a list of that and figuring out how can I actually help them? We were a creative agency, so you can use this as an example if you want. We'd find a cool tool that we would figure out how much people were spending on AdWords. It would kind of come up with some kind of general rule of thumb. And don't put in the comments, I don't remember the tool we used to use, but Google it. And you'd probably find a couple different tools that would do that. But we would say, all right, how many people are spending $10,000 a month in AdWords? Then what we would do is we'd call them up and say, hey, we notice you're spending over $10,000 a month in AdWords. There's a lot of things that you might be missing, especially spending this much. And we want to make sure you're not wasting any of that money. So we would offer an audit. That audit would identify other areas that we could, improve both on the pay-per-click, but then also actually go to a new design for the website or any creative, that kind of stuff. Let's say you're going after the e-commerce space and you're a creative agency. You could actually look at someone's order pages and you could actually call them up and say, hey, I was checking out your order page and I noticed 3 different things on this order page that you can actually improve your conversions and make more money without driving more traffic to your site. Would you like to know what I would recommend? And you provide them valuable information. And then at the end of that, you would say, hey, would you like us to actually just go do this for you? We just happen to look at this really quick, but there's probably 8 or 10 other things that we'd probably find, and we'd like to do a detailed audit. Or maybe we'd like to meet with you for a half day and do a strategy session, see what else we can help you out on. So you're building that relationship. You're helping them out for free first, right? The easiest way to show people that you can actually help them is actually help them first. And you're only giving them some strategies and sharing what's in your melon, your squash, right, between your ears. And you're not doing any kind of free work yet. You're just giving them valuable information that they should know. And then you transition that to a client. So that's what I would do. So let's go to the next question. Monica says, how do you go from an email inquiry or a phone consult to a proposal? This might seem basic, but I'm not sure what I should be achieving or offering in the initial inquiry to then get them to set up, our offering for a roadmap. You mentioned spending time with the client, but what if the client has no interest in spending time with them? So, it's all about asking the right questions, all right, in the initial phone call or the email inquiry. So the first thing is ask questions. Don't just tell. Someone's calling you and you just start going through your process and your portfolio and you're not asking the right questions like, what do you want? What's the impact on this? What's the biggest challenges, right? How are you generating leads? How are you driving traffic to your website? All of these questions, right? You need to be asking them because it's putting the attention on them. From the answers that they're giving you, then you're trying to figure out how you can actually help them. And if you can actually help them, that's one of the other things too, is some people just call you for some random stuff And you're saying, man, I'm so excited to get a lead. I need to sell them. And it might not be your core offering. So you need to kind of back out of that, because that could hurt you in the long run. And that could actually go into, the next question we're going to get in. So you got to ask the right questions. For example, let's say someone called me for a website, all right? And I am going to find out, well, how's their website performing right now? And what do they want? And I'm going to ask them, what's the impact if you don't fix this? They may say, hey, I don't know. And that's when I would kind of simply say, well, if you had to guess, what do you think it would be? And that always usually works. And they'll say, well, maybe it's costing me $100,000 a month. Cool, okay, great. Why do you think it's costing you $100,000 a month? Well, because our website's not converting, it's not doing X, Y, and Z. Okay, cool. So what I would recommend, since this is costing you, and I would reiterate what they said the impact, since you feel that this is costing you $100,000 a month, what I'd like to do is offer you a discovery meeting where we would get together for 2-3 hours, and we would go and lay out everything. And here's the possible outcomes. You could love the plan and you can go execute it yourself. You can love the plan and you may want us to do it for you. Or, and then you can just keep going through those different scenarios. But that's how I would transition. So you have to ask the right questions, figure out what's the impact and what they want, and then start trying to solve and get them closer, right? They're on one side and they're trying to get to another side, and you're the bridge. So you got to figure out, how can I build that bridge and get them there, okay? And then to answer your last question, what if they don't want to spend time with you? Then they're going to be a shitty prospect and a shitty client. So they don't want to spend time, be like, hey, if you don't want this, no problem. We may not be the best fit for you, because we want to make sure that we fully understand the whole picture rather than just get a generic proposal like everybody else. And that will start separating you from everybody else, so you're not a Me Too agency. So last question, Shawn asked, what do you do when a client suddenly has gone silent for 3 months, even 6 months? They want you to start back up with the new payment, and you need to pay for the resources and disrupt your current pipeline. What are your thoughts? This has actually happened to me several times. I'll tell you exactly what I did. Funny story is I sold my agency a couple years ago, and I had one of my clients call me up maybe a year ago, or maybe 2 years ago. But this is probably after 3 years of selling the agency. And we actually started working with this client back in, I think like 06, 07. And they said, Jason, we finally got everything for the website. We're ready to execute. Dude, we totally, we were sold. I mean, that ship sailed. But so I just wanted to share that story because we've all gone through it. In the very beginning, we would just kind of start and kind of move all our clients to the side that we were currently working with, because they came in first and we gave them priority. That was a mistake. And so in the initial sales process, I would tell people, and as we're setting the timeline with them, I would say, well, you want to be done by X date, so we need this by this date, this date, and this date. And if you miss any of these dates, and we're going to constantly remind you about this, but if you miss any of these, we're going to need to put you back in the queue. Depending on how long of a time we actually have to wait, we're going to have to reallocate some resources. So we're going to charge you X amount in order to restart your project. And I would say, does that have any problem? And then I would kind of go, it shouldn't be a problem, because you said, like every client says, right? Oh, we'll get you all the information you need on time, and we'll be the most responsive client you have. And you're just thinking like, yeah, you're full of it. None of our clients are that way. And so we would actually charge, and it would depend on the project, but we would charge anywhere from about sometimes $500 all the way up to maybe $3,000 or $4,000 to restart, depending on what it was. Now, the other thing that we would do is we were getting paid based on deliverables or at a certain date, whichever came first. So most of the time when people go silent, I care less. Like that one client that went silent for like 12 years, they fully paid for everything because at the certain date they would pay. And so it wouldn't bother me. And then they would come back and I'd say, cool, you know. And you might want to put in some kind of clause if they come back like 3 years later, you have to go with the original price, like the new pricing that we have. So they're not grandfathered in because you may be going with a $50 rate, you know, back then, and then your new hourly rate may be like $500 an hour or something like that, right? It wouldn't be fair to you if they make you wait that long. So you may want to do that. Great question. It's happened to all of us. Don't get frustrated, but you know, just change your payment terms so you get paid 100% of the project, so you're not just getting paid half like what you're probably doing now. And then just charge them a restart fee and just say, hey, we're doing this to keep your team motivated as well. But you said you wouldn't ever have any problems getting us the information. You'd be your best client. So what's the problem with signing this? And then you have them sign the proposal. I want you to join the conversation. Make sure you comment and subscribe. Thanks for giving me your most valuable asset, your time.